Hello, and welcome to Dairy Delivery by the Dairy Star. On today's episode, we talk to Jeremy Nails, who is one of the many farmers impacted with the aftermath of a storm that saw 14 tornadoes touch down throughout Wisconsin just 2 weeks ago. Then we speak with Wayne and Derek Bromenschenkel from Sauk Center. After he was diagnosed with a kidney disease, his dad stepped up and donated the kidney to help his son regain his normal life. Next, we head to Monroe, Wisconsin, where we spoke with Josh Steiner. Steiner talked about the importance of building your community and checking in on those you care about. Finally, we wrap up in Northeast Iowa. Ryan Holthouse, the agriculture education teacher at Postville High, talked to us about reviving Ag Ed and the FFA at Postville. You are listening to Dairy Delivery, all dairy, all the time.
The flies are here. Stop the progression with the June Special from Useful Farm Products. The June Special provides 14 shipments of fly parasites for the price of 12 shipments, and the first shipment is doubled for immediate impact to stop fly reproduction. One fly can lay 500 eggs, so 1,000 flies in early June can become millions in July and August. Fly parasites stop that by killing fly larvae and stopping fly hatching. The time to act is now. Fly parasites also stop the need for introducing poisons and toxic chemicals on your farm to kill flies. A large postcard is coming to your mailbox. Order the June Special immediately by calling 888-771-3276 or by going online to www.flycontrolfordairy.com. Useful Farm Products is exclusively a fly control company in business for over 35 years. Call Useful Farm Products at 888-771-3276 for the June Special and knock out flies.
I'm Michelle Stangler.
And I'm Dan Walker, and we're your reporters of the Dairy Star, bringing you the latest in the dairy industry, including hearing from farmers from across the Midwest and beyond. Now, Michelle, this last weekend was Memorial Day. Did you get to do anything special for it?
Yeah, yesterday I really took some time and reflected. I attended a local ceremony in my hometown of Watertown, Wisconsin, and it was cool just to see a group of people come together and reflect together. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, we took in the Memorial Day parade up here and got a chance to talk to the kids about what Memorial Day was all about. And then we also spent the weekend, kind of taking that extra day and doing some extra fun things. We built a play set for the kids. So me and my wife tackled an entire swing set. And then on Sunday, we actually went up to Minnesota and went to a Twins game to see my brother. So it was a lot of fun of real summertime stuff of getting a swing set ready for the kids, going to see a major league game, and then obviously having the day to actually have Memorial Day to take a minute to think about everything that those sacrifices that people have made to keep us free and keep us protected and all that. So,
And that just means that June is right around the corner. I'm so excited. However, you might celebrate National Dairy Month in June, going to a breakfast. I'm so excited. Every weekend there is something happening in Minnesota or in Wisconsin. Any fun June Dairy Month plans for you?
I mean, we got to hit up a couple different dairy breakfasts. I know that. And then in Sparta, we have the Butterfest weekend, which, contrary to how it sounds, there's not as much butter added as you may think. But me and a couple buddies will, get together, and it's always a good time to meet up with my friends and hang out there. But then definitely hitting up some dairy breakfast this summer and getting my kids out to the farm and having them enjoy some of that June Dairy Month celebration that'll be around the state.
Yeah, I definitely encourage folks to look at their county dairy promotion boards, committees, however it may be organized in their area, and look it up. Look to see how you can celebrate. And typically, those breakfasts are on the farm, and there's some educational things happening, some fun things happening, and we have so many stories covering that as well. But that means Father's Day weekend is right around the corner, and our next episode will be released just after Father's Day. So I know I love volunteering at a dairy breakfast where I'm from that weekend, and it's just something fun to do. So I hope you have a fun Father's Day weekend thing that you'll be doing, Dan.
Yeah, I hope so too. My wife's a big planner. I'm just more of a go with the flow kind of guy, so I'm sure we got something planned. I don't know what it is yet, but I know I'm looking forward to just obviously Father's Day, just having the weekend with my kids and my wife, and get obviously calling up my dad who's still running a dairy farm outside of Sparta and getting to talk with him about how things are going with them, and if they obviously how things go normally sometimes during the summer, seeing if they need help on the farm and kind of getting back to my roots there of cutting hay or doing whatever they need me to do there too. So Father's Day is always a good one.
Wow, just summer is right around the corner. Well, let's get into today's episode.
First up, we head to Dodge County, where Michelle spoke with Jeremy Nails. Nails spoke about the damage of an EF2 tornado with wind speeds over 120 miles per hour as it hit one of two farms operated by Schwant Family Farm. Hear from him as he details what it was like to be in the barn when the twister hit.
So what happened was that we were going on with our normal day, trying to get stuff done before the storm, and I had my phone on me. Phone went off with the alarm. I was like, oh boy, well, here we go, and I get done with unhooking a tractor and trying to get that put away, and I just came to the barn and talked to my mom before I left, and I helped my own brother shut a shed door, and I was off to the second farm, and here, my older brother, he was following me from behind with the skid loader to go get feed, and here, I get down there, and I got in the milk house, got the washes going, and turned their barn show on, and then I was going to go back in the milk house, and I looked out the door, and you could just see the white cloud rain coming across, and I just went back in the barn, and the wind started picking up a little bit, and I shut the end door so that the wind wouldn't blow everything around inside the barn, and all of a sudden I get back to the milk house, and I heard glass break, and I shut the door, and the lights went on and off once, and then they just went dark, and the wind was really blowing, and all of a sudden I tried calling somebody, and I couldn't get a hold of them, and I started running down the barn, and all I hear was the crunching, and everything just went over as I looked out the one end of the barn as it went down, and it was just one scary moment right there.
So did you see it go down?
I seen it in a glimpse of an eye that all of a sudden I just saw all the boards go flying across the other side of the barn, and the shed went down and everything else.
So you saw the glimpse, then did you just stand there in awe? Like, what happened then?
No, I just kept trying to call people and trying to get a hold of them, and trying to call my uncle because he was out filling the feed. I knew he was out filling the feed bunk, and I tried calling my brother, and I caught a glimpse, got a hold of him, and all of a sudden my phone, it dropped them right away because the cell towers must have been damaged, or I don't know. But I eventually I called home and I told them what happened, that the barn went down, and I was just really scared because I didn't know because I thought I was gonna be done with sitting inside the barn, and I didn't know about my uncle and my brother, if they were gonna be still alive. And once it calmed down a little bit and it's just hailing and that, I ran to the shed because I saw my brother's skid loader, and then I was by him talking to him, trying to figure out what we got to do next.
When did you knew you were safe when it started hailing and raining? Like, how bad was the wind?
It got pretty bad. I didn't know if everything was gonna go. I didn't know what it was gonna be like. Being through a tornado once. If everything was gonna hold up or if the floor is gonna come down, you just never know what it's gonna do.
Mm-hmm. That day, were you expecting rain? Were you expecting it to be a big storm?
We expected it to be a big storm, and I looked at the radar while I was in the fields, and I figured, well, it's gonna go right around us. Just looking at the radar, and I kept watching the sky, and it gets darker and darker, and you don't take. All us farmers, we don't take notes. We just keep pushing to the end, and if she's gonna start raining, she's gonna rain it, just to try to get the majority of the work done.
Fly season is here, and so is the June special from Useful Farm Products to knock out fly production. Look for a large postcard coming to your mailbox. The June special provides a preventative fly control for the summer with 14 shipments of fly parasites for the price of 12, with the first shipment doubled for immediate impact. Fly parasites are a tiny, harmless, totally safe insect that destroys fly larvae and stops fly hatching. Order now to keep flies under control. Go to www.flycontrolfordairy.com or call 888-771-3276. When that card comes, call Useful Farm Products and knock out flies with the June special.
Nail's story is one of the many covered in the article A Statewide Path of Destruction, located on the cover of the paper and on dairystar.com. He also shared with us his older brother Jason was on site, the farm that was damaged, hauling feed, and there was a lot of emotions then. Next, we head to Sauk Center where Mark Klopacki spoke with Wayne and Derek Bromenschenkel with a story about a father's sacrifice for his son. Derek was diagnosed with polycystic kidney disease, and over time, his kidneys lost function. With dialysis as the last option, Wayne stepped up and gave his son his own kidney and a new chance for a normal life. Let's listen in.
Derek, we'll start out with you. When did you start not feeling well?
Probably, I'd say 2-ish years ago. I mean, I was diagnosed back in like 2016, just a routine CT scan for something else, for a hernia. That's how they found it. And at the time, the nephrologist was like, you probably have at least 5, but maybe 10 years before you need to do anything. And so it's 9 years now, right? So it's kind of about the timeline it was, but probably started feeling the effects of it a couple of years ago. I mean, in 2021, I was hospitalized with bleeding from some of the cysts, and I was hospitalized 2 or 3 other times since then. So those were like different episodes, but probably about 2 years ago is when I really started losing energy and things like that, and sort of gets slowly worse over time. But
What was the diagnosis?
Polycystic kidney disease. Basically, little cysts start growing on your kidneys, and over time they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the whole kidney gets enlarged and it destroys the kidney function, but also you have complications from the cyst and the kidneys being extra large.
What was the biggest challenges then as this got worse for you?
Probably between 2 things. One would just be energy. You start with the toxins building up in your blood, you just have a hard time concentrating and like making it through a whole work day. At the end there, I was like taking naps during lunch, so I was very thankful that I had a work from home job and things like that. The other thing is just random other side effects, like a lot of itching. Sounds weird, but urea starts building up on your skin and it makes it itch. So there was some of that, and then there's just like the mental toll of, I was getting really close to having to be on dialysis, which that was the whole thing we're trying to avoid here. So, just wondering if the next time I get tested, if the blood test levels would be in the dangerous range where I'd have to go on dialysis, like trying to, thinking about that all the time.
What was your emotions when you found out that your dad was your match?
It was really nice, just because, then it gives you more confidence that it's easier to, the logistics part of it, right? Like, it's easy to talk to, around him all the time. So that part was good. The tough part of it is just like, well, hopefully he's okay, later on when we actually do the surgery. But yeah, from a standpoint of hearing it was, someone from my family, it just made it a lot easier to figure out. Because there's a lot of things that have to happen, right, between the time that you find out they're a match and when the surgery actually happens, right? So coordinating that and being able to, we see each other all the time, so it just made it easier compared to, maybe someone who's just an acquaintance. Yeah.
And for you, you must have been, you had to be excited because you could help your own son, but you had to be a little bit nervous because anytime, they open you up, things can happen.
The first time I've ever went into surgery healthy. Usually you go in there, you have appendix, or you're hurting. This is the first time that I wasn't hurting, and I thought, oh, this is a weird feeling, but it's like, well, hopefully we both come out of it, and we did.
So so take us through that timeline. So they took everybody else off the list because your dad was a match. How much distance was it between then and the actual surgery then?
It would have been 4-ish months. Like, he signed it up in December, and we just had the surgery here in the middle of April. But of course, there's a lot of things that happened between there. Like, he did the testing to see if he's a match, and once they did that, then they scheduled appointments for the donor to be evaluated similarly to the way I was, to say, hey, is this the right thing from a health perspective for the donor? But those appointments take a few weeks and months to like get in, right? So that was part of the delay, and then just some follow-up testing they had to do after the original evaluation before he actually got approved. And once you get approved, then it's like, okay, now you actually have to schedule the surgery, and you can get into it later if you want, but there was only one surgeon there, one specific surgeon to do the procedure I needed to be done. So there's like 6 transplant surgeons, but only one of them I could have, so you're like kind of limited by his schedule then.
So what day was the surgery?
Thursday, April 17th.
How nervous was everybody here? Heidi and Pat, I mean, even for you, I mean, these guys are going in, but, was a lot of praying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have 2 people that you're going in worrying about. It's not just like him going into surgery, getting something from a deceased donor or somebody you don't know. That, not to say you don't care about them, but you don't have the same, like, connection. And you're just like, oh, geez, like, all right, both of them better come out of this. And, I mean, I felt better because we had a lot of people reaching out saying, like, hey, we're praying for you guys. The school did a whole school rosary the day of their surgery, or the day before, because the boys were there. Like, things like that, like, help try to ease your mind a little bit, but...
Yeah. When anybody would ask, what can we do? It'd be like, pray. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's all I told them, really. It's like, I don't need food right now. I don't need it. So there was people praying from the Poor Clares, like a friend of mine. I'll call the Poor Clares. I mean, people knew people to know. Sure. That's all they did. That's all we could ask for. I had my husband and my son. I needed both of them to come out and be okay. So that's what we were going on. That's what I was.
What did you two say to each other before you got put under? Did you say, we'll see you in a couple of hours?
Yeah.
Or what was that conversation like? Because it's got to be kind of weird because, again, you have family members both getting putting down at the same time.
Yeah, we didn't have much time because we got put in different rooms, obviously, for the OR prep. And they gave us 5 minutes right
5,
before
8, 10.
Yeah.
Got to see everybody.
They let Blake and Kirsten and Kayla come back, and we all could be in one room for a few minutes or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, we just hugged everyone, said love you, and me and Dad were the last, and just said, yeah, see you on the other side, and that was pretty much it.
Great news for dairy farmers wanting good fly control for this season. Useful Farm Products has a June special for fly parasites. The special offers 14 shipments for the price of 12, with the first shipment doubled for immediate impact. Fly parasites, which are totally harmless, kill fly larvae, preventing fly emergence. Look for a large postcard in your mailbox, or go to www.flycontrolfordairy.com, or call 888-771-3276 and ask for Mr. D. Stop flies before they emerge with the June special from Useful Farm Products. Read about the Bromenschenkel's journey under the headline A Life-Saving Donation on dairystar.com. Next, we go to Monroe, Wisconsin, where I had the chance to sit down with Josh Steiner. Josh and his wife Liz operate Heaven View Dairy, naming their dairy after their daughter they lost in the womb. Josh and I talked about his own journey with mental health and the importance of communication and continuing to check in on your neighbors, especially in person. So, Josh, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. What has been your experiences with mental health?
I think it's a bigger issue than what people think. I think the lack thereof communication and or reaching out needs to improve better. And the programs like Tugs, they're trying to get that note out there, or that message out there that, it's okay to listen to people, or it's okay to, vent to people, too. Find that person that you can trust, if you want to talk to them, or if there's people reaching out, vent to them. Mm-hmm. It'll make you feel better, And it'll make them feel better. Like, oh, I talked to so and so today, and they felt better, and I'm glad I took the time to stop and help them out.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, and you've talked about having people in this area that you built relationships with, and other farmers of having a similar background and stuff. Why is it important to continue to build those relationships with farmers in your area and around the state?
Well, I think it's to keep it strong and to make sure everybody knows that they're not alone. That it's okay to talk to people if you're having issues, if you're down and out, and you don't have to keep it all bottled up for yourself and try to shoulder it all. Because, let's face it, quality of life is important, and, life in general can be stressful enough. If there's, things that you're struggling with, why not, try to figure out an avenue to help that, So I think that's important for everybody to kind of keep the communication lines open and keep it spreading, knowing that there is people out there to talk to.
Yeah. And how has perspective of mental health changed in the ag community over the last 15 to 20 years?
I think it's gotten worse or better, like we talked about. I think there's some people that take advantage of it to try to better themselves, and that part of it's gotten worse. But also, like, the social media part of it, like, you share something like you had a bad day and somebody else maybe feels a little better because, oh, they had a bad day too. I guess I'm not the only one. They can kind of chuckle at it, or you might see something on social media that somebody else shared and it might bring joy. Like, oh, that's, I was hoping that for them, and I see that part of their life came through, or, they were able to buy that truck, or a kid got accepted to college. That kind of can make you feel better, if you're having a bad day. So I think social media has really helped in that aspect. It kind of can get the word out there a little quicker, so that's been a positive. But using, if people have issues and they have a breakdown, and using that to benefit yourself needs help. That part of it needs to go away.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting how you talk about how the in-person communication and social media communication, the most important thing that you keep coming back to is communication, right?
Yeah, it definitely is, and good or bad. Sometimes you got to just get the ugly out there. Sometimes it's the icebreaker. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, unfortunately, you have to be that person and put your foot down and say, well, I know that, you're struggling. Let's just talk about it. And that's a big thing, to take the time to do that. If you feel like there's somebody in your life or that you may know of or heard of, to help, or maybe to help somebody else, help them.
Yeah. Why is it so important to continue to advocate for mental health awareness?
Because I think it's a growing issue. And if we, kind of use the old attitude of, well, we'll take care of it tomorrow, or we'll stop tomorrow, it's just going to get bigger. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like getting a sliver. Well, if you don't take care of it, it can fester and get worse. It's better to nip it in the butt at the beginning than let something go to, totally extreme of losing somebody or a good friend or whatever. It's better to try to make people know that you're willing to listen and understand right at the get-go than till the problem gets worse. And I think the more people that try to look away from it, that don't want to have anything to do with it, or that have the attitude like, well, I'll stop tomorrow or I'll do that tomorrow, makes it worse, I think.
Yeah, kind of like we talked about. You don't know when tomorrow's not going to be here until it's not here.
Yeah.
Making sure you take advantage of the opportunities when you have them.
Yeah.
If someone you know is struggling, what kind of resources can they use to get help?
Well, there's different resources. Tugs is one kind of in this area that you can reach out to, and there's other at like county level or like extensions that you can reach out to. Mm-hmm. To get help. There's a number you can call to get help, or like I say, there's therapists, at your local hospital or welfare clinics or whatever you go to that can help to reach out to. I mean, there's different avenues that you could go to that are out there for resources, or make your own resource. I've had people call and vent to me, and then they'll, well, I'm sorry for venting to you. And it's like, no, I don't apologize. I mean, I've did this. I've had neighbors call, and they kind of call you and ask you, how's your day doing? And the next thing you know, that it's all, I had this problem and that problem, and you're just listening to them and, maybe relating to them in a situation that you've been through in your life, or that somebody's been through, and this is how they handled it. So you can kind of relate to what they're doing. Just, listen. Don't say, you know what, geez, I really don't have the time today. I'll call you back, because you might not. So if you get those phone calls, just give them, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and listen to them vent. And because we all do it, we all need to vent.
If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, reach out to Tugs in Monroe at tugsgroup.org. To speak to someone right now, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. Veterans press 1 once you are connected. Crisis counselors are also available 24/7, and the service is always free and confidential. You can read about Josh's story under the headline Cultivating More Than Crops on dairystar.com. Finally, we finish up in Postville, Iowa with Ryan Holthouse. Mr. Holthouse, as his students call him, came to Postville 2.5 years ago and inherited an ag ed program that was centered around online work and modules. Holthouse revamped their curriculum, taking advice from the community to get more kids more active and involved to have a better ag ed experience, and stressed the importance the experience with FFA can provide students looking to find their passion.
Ryan, you've been here about 2.5 years, and you now have a current membership of 61 kids that are in your FFA. But when you started, you only had 14. So when you started, what did ag ed look like at Postville High, and what does it look like now?
When I started here at Postville in February of 2022, I believe, it was very more online-based type curriculum where the kids were at the computer learning modules, taking tests, reading, doing that. There was not as much hands-on or shop activities, lab activities, greenhouse activities. So that's kind of what the program looked like, because at the time there was a long-term substitute teacher doing the duties here as the ag teacher and FFA advisor. So that was one of the first things when I did take over here that I wanted to kind of stress is like, let's kind of put the computers away for most of the time and do more hands-on learning and implementing greenhouse and shop and different other labs and techniques in the classroom.
So what did you help do to revive it? How important was it to bring back hands-on experience for the kids?
A lot of it was they had a lot of the framework here to run the program. It was unorganized, distraught, it just needed some cleanup, polishing, and getting it all set up so that kids could actually use it and learn, and actually just in a format where kids could understand it to learn versus just being there and just not having the organization part.
Yeah. And why is it so important to continue to bring back ag education? What kind of experiences do you hope that their experiences in FFA and with your programs in ag ed, how important is that, and what can those experiences provide?
In the shop and in the lab setting, I feel our kids in general, in Iowa, in the United States, they can kick my butt in running technology and computers and cell phones. But when it comes to developing skills of operating and doing some of the other technical skills and the people skills, the talking skills, FFA and ag ed offers opportunities to put your phones away, put your computers away, and say, what are your actual technical skills, training skills, public speaking skills, the different skills that are out there that kids need to survive in a workforce.
How important is it to get them those experiences? We talked about it a little bit earlier with having the ability to go to an FFA area where like maybe they weren't interested in dairy science before, or weren't interested in the tech ed welding side of it, would be able to have those experiences. Just
to get them out there, to expose them to those experiences, no matter how well they do, no matter if they're struggling with it, just to give them that experience of saying, hey, if it's public speaking, say, I really, really struggle with this. Maybe I need to get better at it. Or I'm going to focus more in on the ag mechanics where I don't have to do so much public speaking, master the art of welding or electricity or whatever skill it is to fit the individual need of that kid to say, what skill or what trade do I really need to develop in to someday live and work in a community.
So you had mentioned a little bit ago too, when you started with 14, now you're at 61, but like through that process too, you've had a couple state winners in dairy proficiency.
We have, forestry production. I have a young man who wants to come back and take over the family business of forestry. I have a state winner in beef production entrepreneurship. My first state winner I had here was a year ago. In my first year, I had a young lady redesigned a whole chapter website and won the state website contest. So we had nothing. She took it, ran with it, and just that was her love and her passion. And she wants to do something in ag communications or something doing with ag now where maybe before that was no interest to her.
How important was the support you had along the way to help make all this possible?
The district Postville is blessed with school board, administration, community, church groups, anything to support the ag program. I don't know how I'll say it. It's by far one of the most supportive. It is the most supportive program that I've been involved with in the last 20 years.
Catch up with Mr. Holthouse and his revamping of the Postville Ag Education experience under the headline Reestablishing Agriculture Roots on dairystar.com.
We want to thank today's sponsor, Useful Farm Products. The flies are here, but so is their June special. Contact Mr. D at 888-771-3276 or visit www.flycontrolfordairy.com and ask about their June special. Well, we have many more stories in the Dairy Star last week, including a special section focused on education and career connections. We recognize over 80 graduating seniors who work on a dairy farm as they are set to close this chapter of their lives and continue on to the next. Also in that section are stories with people from around our readership area who have attended higher education, further extending their dairy knowledge.
In this week's history section, Tiffany Klophocky tackled the history of the skid loader. Tiffany talked to Joe Keller, whose father Lewis and Uncle Cyril hold the original patent. Her story takes you through how their service in World War II transitioned them from a life on the farm to a life in welding and mechanical repair, leading to the development of one of the most instrumental machines in the ag industry.
Our team also spent a day in the life in Albany, Minnesota with the Dobmeyer family at Lakeshore Dairy. Father and son Tom and Austin Dobmeyer farmed together and last week finished planting their 180 acres of corn and alfalfa. Read their story and see the father and son dynamic in section 2 of the paper.
This issue's Our Side of the Fence was especially interesting as we talked to different farmers about how they set up their grazing pastures. There's lots of different strategies and practices, and seeing what people do from all around our readership area showcase these different ideas and strategies.
Just a lot of stories, right, Dan? You'll have to wait one extra week for the upcoming issue of the Dairy Star newspaper on June 14th. Then come back to the Dairy Delivery on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to podcasts to hear more of those stories. Make sure you rate and subscribe, and if you or someone you know is interested in being featured in the Dairy Star or on Dairy Delivery, reach out at dairydelivery@dairystar.com so we can continue sharing all dairy all the time.